All right, guys. Our next guest is a cornerstone, a pioneer of the UFC's flyweight division, set to take on Jussier Formiga in a rematch at UFC on ESPN 3. Without a doubt, the best dressed man in all of MMA, Joseph Benavidez. Welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you, man?
Doing good. I'm not even dressed at all right now, so thanks.
Well, that's the best kind of Joseph Benavidez and the one that we want in the program. So let's start with the burning question in everybody's minds. You put up a picture on Instagram of Mickey Rourke holding a dog in a boxing ring with no caption. What did it mean?
It's all interpretive. People, typically, Instagram is, it's a site used for pictures. So I like to put up pictures that I like, whether it's something I relate to or whatever, or I'm doing. And I don't necessarily love, even though I've gotten better at it, is putting up pictures of myself. But I think there was a year span of time where I wasn't putting pictures of myself. It was just what I was feeling. Because the way I look at it is all right, it's your Instagram. You can only put so many pictures of yourself, training, you and your dog, you and your wife, you and working out. So sometimes I just find other people that, if I was with my dogs at that time and I'm obviously a fighter and I'm boxing and I find that picture and it just speaks to me, and I feel like it's something I can relate to, then I put that because I don't have a picture of me holding my dog in a boxing ring, but it's I really like that picture. So I do that all the time with style icons, music icons, listen to someone's song or a movie I'm watching. Instead of saying, hey, I'm watching this movie, I put a picture of the movie or whatever, or the mood. I guess the kids would call it a mood,
Yeah.
Most people would just caption that Mickey Rourke and put mood AF or whatever. So I guess it's a mood, but I don't really understand those because a mood can be anything. You just get somebody doing something and it's a mood, but it doesn't seem like any mood you've ever really seen. So I don't think that makes sense. It's more just a feeling and a picture that I like and relate to, which that's what I do with Instagram. My outlook on Instagram is post what you like, not for likes. So I don't really post things that get likes and hashtags. I just post what I like because it's my Instagram.
I love it, man. And I think it's relatable, Assuming all goes well on June 29th against Jussier Formiga and you win and you look like a beast, Joe, I'm just going to put a picture up of you. I'll be well, I'm never going to fight in the UFC, but if I did fight in the UFC, that's what I imagine I would look like. So there you go. There's the mood.
Dude, some of my, people are inspired by different things, But, when I look back, when I look into the future, I hope that there's some me, some kid in the future that, finds pictures of, me and Megan, and he posts them, as a mood. Because there's some weird pictures of, me and my dog, Benny.
Yeah.
But, right now, I'm posting, Marlon Brando with his dog. Or Robert, or Al Pacino with his dog, or dogs in the movie, whatever. I hope there's some kid growing up right now, maybe he's just born, but in 20 years, he's going to be putting out pictures of me and Benny, and I think that'd be amazing. Or a couple finds pictures of me and Megan, or putting them up goals or something. That's kind of what I do it for. I just find iconic things that I like and put them up.
It's crazy time, especially if you think back in the day. Imagine some of the icons, guys like Elvis, guys like, Brandau having Instagrams and posting stuff on it. I think in 20, 30, 40, 50, man, because I could talk about this all day, people are going to realize, I can go on my great-grandfather's Facebook page and see what they were doing on June 3rd in video, and some of it, it's absolutely unbelievable. So I think that's one of the benefits of social media. Now, in all seriousness, though, you're a week away from taking on Jussier again, tell us, how's the preparation been going? And how is it compared to last time when you were getting ready for Formiga?
Good. It's different. Every camp's different. You do it a long time, and, it's really what you do. You do your best, and that never changes. But all camps are different. I think people lie when every camp they say they feel the best they ever felt. It's the greatest camp they ever had, because it's not true. Every camp's different, and that's kind of what makes it good. This was a long camp, a great camp, different than my last one with him 6 years ago. but better in that way. At the end of the day, it's what we do. And I've had amazing fights. I've had amazing camps and not great results in fights. And I've had, weird camps where I didn't think stuff was going to happen. And I had, great results in the fight. So all in all, you go in every day, you try to win every round, you try your best every practice. You see everything out. You see out your recovery. You see out your meals, your sleep, your rest. And, every camp, you just do the best you can. And, that's how I look at it. Like, I'm at this point now. It's like, this is what I do. When I got the fight, I was ready to fight within weeks. I'm ready to fight now, but it's just a formality. The date is kind of what you're left with. So the camp is a formality. But all in all, like, I'm always ready to fight. And the camp is really, for me, at this point, I'm not going to get tougher. I'm not going to forget how to fight. It's about, staying healthy, making a game plan really for the opponent, like specifics for the opponent, not so much everything else, and waiting for that date. So I'm excited. It's coming up.
I'm curious about that actually, Jake, because we've seen fighters like Robbie Lawler, for example, sort of explain the same mindset, which is, hey, like, I've been fighting for a really long time. My training's changed now to the way it used to be. I'm just curious, when you mentioned, obviously, you know how to fight. What kind of sparring are you doing these days going into a fight compared to what you do previously? What kind of drilling are you doing these days compared to a fight that you do? Is it a lot less than before because it's something that you know so well at this point?
Yeah, the sparring intensity hasn't changed, but the amount I do it has. Because I think when you're coming up, you almost need fights before the fight, so that way you're not really surprised by anything in there. So, for instance, to make it simple, when I was at Alpha Male and I was starting my first few fights, we would spar 3 or 4 times a week between MMA, boxing, 3 or 4 times a week. That way, when we have that fight, we've already gotten into a fight. But now that I've fought everything and seen about everything in the cage, the intensity of my sparring doesn't change, but I'm only sparring once a week, on top of like some touch sparring, obviously a ton of drills, and that's just sparring MMA. I still have about 4 live practices a week between grappling, MMA, sparring, and wrestling.
That's awesome. I think that's a really important to know. It's something that we've actually kind of always wanted, especially for guys like yourselves that have sort of, been around across different eras of the sport. I was also going to say, with this fight, you mentioned you were ready to take it, but I guess what was the interest and what was the motivation here? Because you've already beaten Formiga before, and it was a very decisive victory too in the first round. And also your last fight against Dustin Ortiz, that was another rematch. So you're on a bit of a Benavidez rematch world tour at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. They call me Joey 2 times. I'm having to beat everybody twice, including in the future, Cejudo. Once I get that fight, after this one, having I get past Formiga, I have to do everything twice. So, yeah, I mean, the motivation, it's not anything crazy, anything romantic. It's what we do. It's our job. They call us to fight. They call us into work. That's what you do. You don't fear any man. You don't take any shortcuts. You don't take any easy routes. He's obviously gotten a lot better since our fight. He's actually ranked #1 ahead of me, which is crazy. I have a win over the champion and the #1 guy, but yeah, that's all it is that's the fight. That's the fight they want, and that's what I do. The way I look at it is I was a #1 guy for so long. Obviously guys want rematches. I wanted rematches, whether it be with Demetrius or somebody that I've lost to. So, there's guys when you're at the top that want that opportunity again too. So, you always still have to prove you're at the top, even if it's against the same guy. It's a whole new fight.
A lot to unpack there. You just mentioned it, Henry Cejudo. That's obviously the end goal for you. How do you see that fight sort of materializing now that he holds 2 belts? And it kind of seems like he's moved up to bantamweight. When he spoke after the fight, he listed a bunch of guys that he wanted to fight, and none of them were really flyweights. How do you see that fight coming together, and do you think he comes back down to flyweight?
Yeah, well, at this point, he is the biggest fight. He's the champion at both weights. So if you look at bantamweight and flyweight, he kind of controls both divisions. And if he wants to fight at bantamweight, which he got to, he won the belt, but now he's the champion. At the end of the day, it's kind of up to the bosses and that, I mean, I don't know really. I think they're shifting kind of their thoughts on the flyweight division as of late. But the way I look at it is I'm the only person, the people he called out were great call outs, but they just don't necessarily make sense at the moment. Like great fighters, great call outs. Obviously, everyone knows what he's doing. He's calling out the more popular names, but unfortunately, those popular names don't make sense for a title fight, which is what you'd be fighting Henry for right now. So you look at the scale of division, like what fights do make sense. He beat Marlon, for the title. TJ's out. The guys he called out aren't necessarily in title contention. You look at the number one guy at bantamweight, which would be Aljamain Sterling, and you look at the number one guy at flyweight, which would be the winner of me and Formiga. And having me come out of that, I make more sense than anybody right now. If he's the real double champ and wanting to defend in both weights, it's the flyweight's turn to get the action. He hasn't defended he hasn't fought in there. It'll be a while since he fought in there, since he did bantamweight last. And I just make the most sense. Nobody else has history with Cejudo, and not only history, a win over him. So that's what makes the most sense is no one can say they have a win over him. His last win, he has to avenge that loss. And, I love all the guys, but I think number one contenders, like I make more sense than him and Aljamain, him and Jan. I think even, playing from the outside, just flyweight in general, like Formiga has a split decision loss against Cejudo. So he's working to get back there as well. Obviously, you're talking to me, so I'm confident that I'm going to win and get it. But the two contenders at flyweight, he has a split decision loss to and a split decision win to. So a lot of history and already close matches. Where at bantamweight, he took out two guys, and now the other guys he has contenders. But I think he has some history and some unfinished business at flyweight.
I guess that is the big question. Everybody's always wondering what's the situation of the division. I'm curious, what has the UFC said to you going into this fight? Have they said anything about the future of the division and what's up for grabs? Is there anything official that Dana or Sean Shelby or anyone from the company has said to you going into the fight next week?
You know what? Not to me, but in public, if I probably pay more attention to this since it has to do with me in the division. But speaking about the division publicly, Dana said me and Formiga would be a number one contender fight to fight Henry for the title. So that's something he didn't say to me, but he said in public. And then after the Cejudo fight, he said that flyweight is sticking around. And I assumed he made that because he realized that the winner of that fight would make sense for the champion at both weights, the Triple C there, Henry Cejudo. So those were both good things, him saying they're sticking around after Cejudo won and saying he was going to make me and Formiga as a number one. So yeah, those were both good signs, and that's really as much as you can take it without looking too far forward, over the fight in front of you.
I'm curious because obviously this is a rematch of a guy that you've beaten, but do you feel extra pressure in the sense that a lot of people see you winning this fight as the sort of primary way the division sticks around because you versus Cejudo is such a big fight? Is there any additional pressure in the sense that you are the biggest name in the division in a lot of ways apart from Cejudo, and if you lose, maybe that has some kind of impact on what happens to the division in the future?
Not necessarily the pressure from other people. Like I'm always looking to make like my fans and supporters proud, obviously, and happy. Like I love giving them that joy and like them rooting for me and it, coming to fruition and them supporting me and me going out there and winning, whether it's a fan or a family member, a wife, a coach, someone that sacrificed anything. But it's not as much pressure. It's something that motivates you and inspires you. But it's not really pressure. The main pressure comes from, I think, within, the pressure you kind of put on yourself. And, even the company, like, they don't put pressure on you. Like, hey, you have to win this because we need this fight. You can tell that's kind of hopefully where they want to go towards. But you put all that pressure on yourself because you're the one to gain from it. And you're kind of the one to lose from it, Fans will love you or hate you either way. It can change on a dime. Your family will always love you. But it's really that pressure within and knowing how to deal with it, that you feel because, you know, I do this sport to succeed. You know, this title has eluded me. You know, the division's been down, it's been out. I've been down and not out, and now like here we are, kind of at a fresh start. So, you know, it's all about the pressure you put on yourself and really how to manage that pressure and also the expectations of it. And thankfully, I've been in these positions before, and I've dealt with them on a good side, on a bad side, and I know how to deal with them, and I know how to deal with the pressure going into them. So it's not necessarily from other people, like I said. I mean, it just comes from always wanting to succeed, and you're going to want to do that when you're at the top.
I was going to say, you know, people are sort of already kind of looking at Cejudo as, well, maybe he's going to be taking these money fights, you know, bantamweight or featherweight or wherever he wants to go, and maybe he won't come back to flyweight. If not, people are already looking at you as potentially, you know, the guy. You're a pioneer. You've been in the flyweight division since its very inception in the UFC. Could you see it sort of being built around you and you sort of running that division if Cejudo doesn't come back? And also, it's interesting because if that were to happen, then you and Formiga, given the rankings, that would be kind of an ideal fight for you know, say like a vacant title.
Yeah. I don't think that's happening yet. I mean, the fight's in 2 weeks, and for all
Yeah,
we
of
know,
course.
the division is running. But yeah, I mean that's a great thing to do. I mean, you know, right now Cejudo is. I mean, I guess for me it's different. Like I would say, I obviously want to take the belt from Cejudo, but I already have a win over him first, so he's kind of the one that has to come avenge the loss. You know, but like the DJ thing or something. If there was that situation, he left and I became champion, I'd be like, damn it. Well, you know, I knew I wanted to beat him, but now the way things have mixed up, Cejudo beat him. You know, I beat Cejudo. You know, who knows? You know, but obviously, I've been here since the beginning of the division, and I feel, you know, like maybe not to the public or anything, but personally, like I always feel responsible for it, and I feel like I'm the biggest fan of it. So if I was able to continue to represent it in a bigger capacity, you know, being the champion or whatever, then that'd be great. But people look at the division however they want, you know, whether the face or it's their favorite fighter or their most exciting or whatever. But yeah, I try to be all those things for the flyweight division, and not only just for the division, just fighting in general, you know, just being yourself. You know, people take to it or not, and that's what I always try to do. But obviously, you know, I get a lot of credit for being in this division and kind of representing that as well. So it's nice. I like it.
For sure. Now you're in the co-main event of this big ESPN card. I mean, the big question, a lot of eyes will be on your fight. A lot of people will be happy to see you on that card, but are you going to put an emphasis on getting on the mic afterwards and sort of calling for Cejudo next or for Dana White to keep the division around after your fight? Are you seeing this as your opportunity to sort of send out a message through the media to the fans and to the UFC?
Yeah, I mean, you get the win, you know, you're going to express your mind, but, you know, the way I look at that is it's silly to really talk about it before it happens because, like, that's a great thing to look forward to and a possibility that you can take advantage of, but none of that happens without going out there and winning. So when I win, whatever is in my mind and whatever is rightfully, you know, the right thing to be said, and whatever my feelings are, you better believe you're going to hear them. But that's like, you know, going out there and acting like you want to fight already, or, you know, saying like, you know, I grind in silence and my success makes the noise or something like that. Like basically talking about the work before it's done. And if anyone knows me, like that's not something I do. You know, obviously what we're talking about right now, there's good things to have in the future, but yeah, I mean, when I win, I think it's undeniable that I'm the rightful contender for Cejudo, and it's undeniable that the division should stay around for that fight at least. So, you know, however it's expressed, that's how it's going to be.
Appreciate the time, Joe. Just really quickly, one more thing before we let you go. Obviously, Urijah Faber, you know, a fan favorite, a guy that a lot of people love, and a guy that you trained with for a very, very long time is returning to action. Just curious about what you think of his decision to come back to fighting, and you know, can he kind of break the curse of sort of older guys, legends of the sport, coming back and not necessarily having the runs that they want? Do you think he can come back and sort of be successful today?
Yeah, man. I mean, they don't call him the California kid for nothing.
Yeah.
He's 40 years old, but he's still a kid. You know, he's a new dad. I think he's just reinvigorated, inspired. Like, age doesn't mean anything. The guy's training every day. Even when he retired, I mean, he went out with a win. He obviously wasn't done. he was still competing on a high level when he left, and he's been training ever since. Faber is a winner, and he wouldn't go out there, if he didn't think he was doing the right things to win and compete. So, I expect his best effort. I expect, kind of a California kid of old, because, that's why he would do it. And, yeah, man, I'm excited for it. I think it's a fun thing in Sacramento, where he obviously has a big support system. So I think it's going to be a great show.
Well, there you guys go. Check out Joe fighting on June 29th. That's the 30th in Australia, in New Zealand, against Jussier Formiga. Of course, check him out on Twitter and Instagram at Joe Jutsu. And Joe, just quickly, your website, dapperscrappers.com, where you take photos of fighters in their style and fashion on media day. Just quickly, as we wrap up, what are a couple of sort of general picks that people need to check out from that website?
Oh, all of them are good, man. Everyone brings something different to the table. That's why I love this sport. It's obviously individual with our mindsets, our interviews, our interest, and style, fashion. I like, I call it style because style is very individual. It's an individual thing, Everyone on there, you might see a picture that, you like and relate to, but somebody else wouldn't. And that's what's great about it, is no one's bad, no one's wrong. It's like everyone's out there representing their individualities, individual style, just like a fighting style, can express some character, can build a different layer of the fighter. And it's just nice to see all these guys out there, outside of a fight kit and a Reebok outfit, and sharing a little bit of their personal style with us. So, yeah, man, go check out any of it. I got media days, I got some individuals. Sometimes I just find fighters backstage, that's always fun. So, yeah, man, just check it out. I think there's something for everybody on there. The girls have really been bringing it lately. The females have really been, stepping up the style game. So, yeah, man, I think there's something for everybody on there. There's some good highlights in the stories from some past events. And if you all ever click on the hashtag, you can see kind of the archives of when it started, 2 years ago. So, it's all good. Something for everybody.
Got to ask, since we're based out of Australia, who's the most fashionable Aussie fighter that you've taken a photo of for that website?
That's hard to say. Like I said, there's no.
You got Tai Tuivasa, Israel Adesanya. You got Robert Whittaker. He's from New Zealand, Israel Adesanya, but you got Robert Whittaker.
Adesanya has great style because it's very individual, very personal, and very him. And style is all something the individual possesses. And if you look at him as a person, as a personality, as a style, it all kind of transcends that. The guy can be wearing Reebok and kind of make it his own. So if we're talking style, there's no one better than Style Bender.
Awesome. Well, he's on the program today, Joe, so you'll be happy to hear that. Thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to see your fight, and I hope you have a great preparation for it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Joe. Bye.
Bye.